Madoff, Fox News anchor and attorney Greg Jarrett. We have Rick Stone, an attorney with Kirby McInerney, which is representing some Madoff victims, along with Ron Geffner, partner at Sadis and Goldberg and a former SEC enforcement officer, along with Nicholas Casal. He's a former security guard for Mr. Madoff. Ron, you had wanted to get in something, I believe it was you, right before the break. Go ahead.
Yeah, Greg said, and maybe I'm being too particular with his word choice, he said that the SEC possibly knowingly turned their head. And I find that almost impossible to be accurate. There's too many people in the chain, the examination and the prosecution side of the business, that it would take a team of people to turn their head. And I don't think that would ever happen.
Then how did they miss it? How did they miss the obvious that was right in front of them when 29 times Harry Markopoulos lets them know about it?
I first of all cannot say in any way, shape, or form they did the job right. So I'm not suggesting the complete opposite end of the spectrum. However, part of it is you have human examiners interviewing a human being who they've known as a pillar in the society, who had been the chairman of the NASDAQ, who they understood to be a wealthy individual. And it's hard to imagine that a guy like that is going to cheat and steal people.
So they made
how could you be intimidated? Hold on, guys, one at a time. Nick, go ahead.
I mean, we're hearing this from the former SEC. I mean, it sounds like you're intimidated to start off with. What the SEC needs is good detectives doing good detective work. They could bring their regulatory attorneys, compliance people, and accountants later on, the same way as you would bring an interpreter later on. What they need is good hound dogs. It was pitiful, their performance. And to say that they should be at all intimidated because a person has a higher position in the market is wrong.
You're misunderstanding me. You're misunderstanding me. I'm not suggesting there should be intimidation. Historically, when I was at the commission, we would bring people in for examination or for testimony. You would swear them in. You would go through the record. You would listen to the information. You would compare it to written documents. If everything that was produced matched up. Now, I realize there are whistleblowers, so I can't answer you because I agree that there's a fault here and a flaw in the process. When you had this many whistleblowers going on for such a long period of time, it doesn't match up with what the other side of what I'm telling you. I recognize it, but I feel really strong.
Going forward, they need to reorganize the organization. That's what they need going forward.
First of all, they're not
They
even
need a
funded
Wall
properly.
Street squad, not some sort of regulatory and compliance puppy dogs. They need a real hound dog here.
Listen, I hear you. I think you're over-exaggerating the situation to some degree. First of all, I'll tell you that the SEC is not properly staffed. The SEC is not self-financed. What happens is the money they make from all the securities filings goes back to the U.S. Treasury.
But Rick, the problem is who it's staffed with. That was the whole point of Harry Markopoulos' testimony, is that it has too many lawyers and not enough forensic accountants. A forensic accountant like Harry Markopoulos saw through Madoff. Other forensic accountants saw through Madoff. That word did not penetrate the SEC. And when they had a chance to interview him 3 years ago in 2006, after all of the memos from Markopoulos, they failed. They gave him a pass, even though he gave the SEC a roadmap and said, hey, if you don't believe me, follow the record. Well, they didn't follow the record, because guess what? Had they followed the record, they would have seen there was no record of any trades. Rick?
Well, I think that this fraud was so gross that it was hard to catch, and I know that's a difficult concept to get. When the SEC comes in and does field examinations in FINRA, they're looking to see whether you're complying with technical SEC and FINRA rules. It doesn't approach their imagination that what you're really doing is not doing the trades at all. I think this was such a gross fraud that that's why it escaped them. And the Markopoulos report didn't say he wasn't doing trades. What it said was it was not possible for him to consistently make those types of return with that option strategy. The simple answer to this is you can't allow smaller firms, which don't have a very comprehensive compliance department, and top tier, one of the top 4 firms auditing them, to self-clear. The SEC's got to get the message. Force these people to clear through people who you audit every day. It won't happen again.
Greg, 10 seconds.
I think you, in the end, may find some people at the SEC who may have been knowingly in bed with Bernie Madoff.
And that, of course, time will tell. Nick,
Unlikely.
we only have a few more seconds. More on a personal level, you were his security guard. What do you think about him now?
I hate to end the segment with no comment.
That's good enough. Why? I mean, I guess I should just say, why is that?
No, I think it would be unfair because, you know, anything, my interaction with him would have been privileged. I mean, he asking me to comment mostly on an investigative point, which has an investigator detective with the NYPD. I did my whole life. We were brought in to do the bail modification agreement security plan, which won him his freedom. So I think, beyond that scope, I wouldn't feel comfortable.
Nick Casale, private investigator. Nick, thank you very much for being here, and all of you for being here. What a great panel.
We will be